Okay. Thank you and good afternoon, everybody. And I'm right now sharing my screen if things go well. Um, so thank you, and thank you especially to the Build Up platform for hosting this webinar, A Look Behind the Better Home initiative. The reason why we from BPIE, the Buildings Performance Institute Europe, wanted to broadcast this and to give publication on this um, service or building model is that we find it very relevant and it has very interesting scope for renovation for the rest of Europe and not only for Denmark and Sweden where it's currently being implemented. So I will give a short introduction, but before I do so, I want to run through the agenda because actually it's after my introduction that we will have actually the more interesting presentations. First of all, from Niels Karre-Bruun, CEO from BetterHome, he goes in details what makes BetterHome a success story. And then we have a first Q&A, and the success of this webinar is partly also because of you participants to ask questions. So use this opportunity to ask questions to Niels and maybe to me in the first round. And then after this first Q&A, we have the industry partners standing behind the Better Home initiative that have the word that will give an input and a reflection on why they actually invested and set up this initiative, both from Danfoss, Rockwool, Velux, and Grundfos. And then we end with a speaker, Peter Wouters, who is actually right now in the United States, not calling in from Brussels, Europe as usual. The reason that we wanted to end with the presentation on quality challenges for the energy efficient renovations is very often on renovation financing is considered as the main barrier. But if we move to an increased amount of energy efficient renovations, the challenge of quality will be absolutely there. And so there Peter Wouters will zoom into that. And it's at the same time, one of the advantages of having a webinar means that we have speakers from Denmark, we have speakers based in the United States, and the other advantage of a webinar is that you can present in pajamas, which, by the way, I'm not doing for now. So as a small introduction, I really want to put attention on the breakdown of household energy consumption, because Better Home is focusing on households. And you see that across Europe, almost 70% of the energy consumption goes to space heating. If you add there the 13% for water heating, you come at around 80% that is consumed on heating as such. What makes it relevant is if you go and break it down by country, you see that of course the southern countries with the warmer climate like Spain and Cyprus, they have a lower heat consumption. But what becomes interesting is if you see Denmark and Sweden, two countries where the Better Home initiative is being rolled out, and although the climate there is quite cold, they have less heat consumption than more south related countries like Belgium or France. So although that the space heating is smaller than in other countries, they still have really, how do you say, an interesting market for renovation initiatives. So that means that there is also a lot of opportunities in those other countries for the same model as we will be talking about today. I just want to use the opportunity to show a recent research we came out with from BPIE, is that we went, we actually checked all possible existing EPC databases or some data on the energy performance certificate classes. And you see that across all the countries that you see here, that the buildings with share of dwellings with label D or worse in red is really the large majority. So that is a very clear image of the challenge where we stand for today. As you see that countries like Denmark and France, they score compared to the others pretty well on level of buildings with label A, it's still not a very positive result. And if you put all of this together, what we saw is that all these countries are representative for around 70% of European service. And the unfortunate thing is that only around 3% of EU buildings have energy performance level A. And that is very important in perspective of the current policy discussion on European level, where the energy performance of building directive is being reviewed. And tomorrow there is the first trialogue meeting where Commission and Parliament and the Council go into discussion on the next EPB. There the main message is that if we want to achieve a decarbonized building stock by 2050, as is mentioned, there is a bunch load of work. But at the same time, this is also a gigantic opportunity because renovating your buildings has a direct impact on achieving your Paris Agreement, and also has a very large impact on local employment and economy. So we need this paradigm shift to achieve the full market potential of this renovation. And everybody of the attendees of you around watching the webinar right now, who has been in the renovation process, you know it's quite of a hustle. You have siloed offers, there is limited homeowner interaction, there's multiple payments to follow up, it's a very fragmented process, so you really get quite crazy of this. And if you have a very positive experience about renovation, please let me know, because we like to tell the interesting stories as well. So what needs to change and what is this paradigm shift is really that at the supply side, it needs to become a much more service-oriented approach. But at the same time, the demand side, so the homeowners need to have a deeper awareness. It's not only about potential energy savings, it's also about increased comfort. It's about healthier buildings that you create as well. So if we then see to the BetterHome as an innovator towards the renovation journey, what is interesting for us at BPIE is that we see that it's really focusing on the homeowner. So that's the starting point. What is the homeowner current needs to set up a renovation, to, let's say, a deep energy renovation? And it's about this transparency and reliability, because right now there is not much trust towards the supply sector, and that we need to change. And therefore, and there Niels in the presentation afterwards will go more in detail, BetterHome provides actually a toolbox for the installer to support him or her towards this renovation process. At the same time, it's about making clear that it's a rewarding investment. As mentioned before, it's not only about rewarding a level of energy savings, it's also rewarding of increasing the value of your building. It's rewarding of increasing the level of comfort and so on. Quality is crucial in this, otherwise you lose your reliability, and we should really jump in the century we're living and working in, and that means that a digital approach is well, we cannot neglect that there is the only way to do so. So from that perspective, from BPIE, we find it very interesting that it's really an industry-driven one-stop shop, because we see a lot of one-stop shop popping up and across Europe, some with less success, but very often they are supported by governments or by public authorities. And public authorities have absolutely crucial role in the uptake of renovation. But what is for us really interesting, and therefore I want to hear more from the industrial partners, is what did they decide to invest in this initiative? And so industry is really taking the lead in this one-stop shop renovation service. And as mentioned before, it's launched in Denmark, which is of course the home base of the industrial partners, and they're rolling now out in Sweden, and maybe later on we can hear where future plans are foreseen. With a large network of 3,500 installers, 5 banks, utility companies, and as mentioned, focusing on single-family houses. As you see, the indirect turnover speaks for itself. And it's a very new project, so it's very interesting, or I'm very interested to see how it will be rolled out in the future as well. So until there, my short introduction, and I just want to inform that on the website from BPIE, you find the innovation briefing free available, and also some other additional information. So by now, I would like to give the floor to Niels. And I will stop sharing my screen right now. Niels, as mentioned before, he's managing director and founder at BetterHome, and previously was involved at the Energy and Industry and Global Wind Energy, where he managed an area of 3 departments in Denmark within energy, resource management, industry, and wind power consultancy. So I'm happy, Niels, to share the platform to you, and then to the participants I call to send out questions that Niels then can answer afterwards. Thank you.